breaking news on To The Point.
Your hands up, is anybody hurting here?
A mass shooting at Florida State University.
I heard the sirens, I saw the police going, I saw people running like crazy.
At least 2 people killed, several others hurt. What we're learning about this suspected shooter in custody tonight. Plus, as hundreds of AmeriCorps members are let go, the impacts to Sacramento.
The public that uses the parkway every day is going to notice less miles cleared.
And why California regulators are proposing an end to solar incentives.
This will be the final stake in the heart of the solar industry.
We investigate what's at stake.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is To The Point, and I'm Alex Bell. We do start tonight with breaking news. A mass shooting on Florida State University Tallahassee campus has taken place. Law enforcement says at least 2 people are dead and 6 others are hurt. The suspected shooter was also shot by law enforcement. Officers identified him as 20-year-old Phoenix Eichner, a FSU student and a son of a sheriff's deputy.
Eichner has been with the Leon County Sheriff's Office for over 18 years. Unfortunately, her son had access to one of her weapons.
Deputies say the suspected shooter was also a longstanding member of the Sheriff's Office Youth Advisory Council and engaged in a number of training programs with the office. The 2 people who died in the shooting were not FSU students. And we have been streaming coverage from Tallahassee live on our ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app all day. You can download the app to your TV and stay updated on breaking news when it happens. Young volunteers who help respond to natural disasters and assist local communities have been told by the Trump administration they are no longer needed. They are part of AmeriCorps' National Civilian Community Corps, or NCCC. The cuts were reportedly made by President Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, known as DOGE. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen shows us the impacts that these cuts will have in the greater Sacramento region.
I joined after college when I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and it opened up so many doors and led me to continue a life in public service.
As a former staff member of the AmeriCorps National Civilian Community Corps, Griff Ryan Roberts says his time with NCCC had a profound impact on his life. The program allows people ages 18 through 26 to work with nonprofits and community organizations to help during natural disasters or volunteer in their local communities.
Working out along the American River Parkway, so the American River Parkway Foundation partnered with AmeriCorps and NCCC folks all the time. So they would be doing river cleanups, removing invasive species.
According to the Associated Press, this week the Department of Government Efficiency notified volunteers they would no longer be needed. AmeriCorps' budget for the 2025 fiscal year shows the NCCC program was allotted nearly $42.5 million and will pay members $13 an hour.
This is not a very large agency, not a very large program. These members receive a living stipend.
Since 2015, the American Parkway Foundation has partnered with AmeriCorps to help clean the trails. The Parkway Foundation says AmeriCorps volunteers work with them once a year for 8 to 10 weeks at a time. With these cuts, the Parkway Foundation says there will be a notable impact for people who visit the trails.
Last year in 2024, specifically with trails, we were able to clear 12 miles. And I think if we look back at those numbers, AmeriCorps was responsible for about 4 or 5 of those miles. And so without AmeriCorps, we're going to definitely have less of those miles done.
California Volunteers is a state commission that helps administer certain AmeriCorps programs. A spokesperson tells us the state hasn't received any guidance from AmeriCorps, but will remain committed to serving California. In Sacramento, Jeannie Nguyen, ABC 10.
We reached out to AmeriCorps for comment, but have not received a response yet. The National Weather Service in Sacramento is also undergoing staffing cuts and operational cutbacks. The agency in an email said it will now operate at, quote, critically reduced staffing levels. As part of operational changes, staffing will be reduced every day between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m., with the bulk of the forecast work being done during the day shift. This also means long-term watch, warning, and advisory products will primarily only be issued during the day shift. California leaders are voicing their opposition to proposed Veterans Affairs cuts. The cuts, which could eliminate up to 80,000 jobs across VA hospitals nationwide, were announced in March. The cuts would return VA staffing to 2019 levels, reversing expansions made during the Biden administration to accommodate veterans impacted by burn pits.
For the first time, we're going to do right by them. So we had to hire people in order to serve those new veterans, 1 million new people in the system. And it's working. It's working. So you're going to fire them? Again, how cruel can you be?
The Department of Veteran Affairs memos indicates that the cuts could take effect as early as August, something we will keep our eye on. Tonight, nearly 6 years since 8 people were wrongfully arrested and accused of murder in Stanislaus County. They got a big win in court. Back in 2015, Modesto attorney and Stanislaus County District Attorney candidate Frank Carson was arrested on suspicion of murdering a man who went missing in Turlock. The attorney's wife, stepdaughter, and 6 others were arrested and charged with helping in the debunked murder conspiracy. A jury acquitted all 8 back in 2019, and a year later, Carson died of a heart attack. He was in the middle of a lawsuit against Stanislaus County, and this week the county approved a $22.5 million settlement.
That it broke our hearts, broke our spirit, and it's just something I don't think I'm ever going to get over. You know, the settlement's great, but what it leaves you with is this really bad taste in your mouth and this constant anxiety of how wrong everything can go.
In a statement, the Stanislaus County District Attorney said that the settlement is a necessary step in closing a difficult chapter and maintaining focus on current public safety priorities. Still ahead on To the Point, California regulators are proposing an end to solar initiatives, what it could mean for energy bills.
And today we were in the low 70s in parts of the valley. Tomorrow, upper 70s and low 80s, and we're going to be near 80 through the Easter weekend. Forecast details coming up after the break.
And it's Thursday, so later we're going to have our Champions of Hope. You're going to meet a World War II veteran celebrating 100 years of life, his service journey, and life advice to others. Let's get over to meteorologist Brendan Minchef with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, today was a much cooler day than where we were to start the week. Remember Monday, we made it to 89 degrees. We're almost 90 today. We barely made it to 70 places in the San Joaquin Valley. Stockton, Modesto didn't even make it out of the 60s. It was 67 Stockton, 66 in Modesto today, 68 Vacaville, 68 in Fairfield, and 50s and 60s in the foothills. Currently in the mid-60s across much of the valley, 65 Modesto, 64 Tracy, 65 Stockton, Elk Grove, Sacramento, and then 65 over in Vacaville and Fairfield as well, 74 up in Colusa. Not as much wind today, but there is still a weak delta breeze, especially in the delta, not necessarily reaching that far though into the valley. 63 at the top of the hour, 60 degrees by the time we get to 9 o'clock, and in those mid-50s by 11. Some patchy fog possible tomorrow morning, starting off in the mid to upper 40s across much of the valley. Average low is 50, so not all that far from where we should be. A little bit of marine influence again overnight. That's going to bring some of those low clouds in, as well as some patchy fog for tomorrow morning. Not necessarily dense fog, but visibility will likely be reduced from what it normally is. Tomorrow afternoon, we're going to be near 80 degrees once again, so that warming trend begins and continues through the Easter holiday weekend. It will also be breezy out of the north on Friday afternoon with winds about 20 miles per hour. Might want to make sure you take those allergy meds for tomorrow. In the foothills for the holiday weekend, in the low to mid 70s, near 60 degrees in the high country for the holiday. Here in the valley, we're going to be near 80, a little bit above that even for Easter Sunday. Peak of the heat Monday, and then we go back into the 70s next week, Alex.
Next on To the Point, why California regulators are proposing an end to solar initiatives and how it could impact your bottom line. Welcome back in. For decades, Californians have been encouraged to go solar. Families have been offered incentives and programs, but now the state's public utility regulator is proposing another cut to solar credits. Solar advocates say that this could be the final blow to rooftop solar in California. ABC 10 anchor Laura Painter explains what this means for the future of solar and customers' bottom line.
The PUC is laying the groundwork, the Public Utilities Commission, to absolutely kill all solar programs in California.
The state's public utility regulator The California Public Utilities Commission is proposing more cuts to electric bill solar credits people with rooftop solar can earn. The CPUC says rebalancing is needed, arguing rooftop solar customers don't pay their fair share of costs needed to maintain the power grid. The CPUC introduced the cuts in response to Governor Gavin Newsom's order aimed at addressing rising electricity bills. But solar advocates say these cuts could be the final blow to rooftop solar in California.
It pencils out for the utilities quite well. The utilities are going to be making profits hand over fist, and extra money that, frankly, they are not entitled to.
Loretta Lynch, president of the CPUC in the early 2000s, says recent reductions of solar incentives by the commission have already made it harder for rooftop solar to make sense for California families, while PG&E is reporting record profits. Lynch says if this proposal becomes a reality and solar incentives are further reduced, solar customers run out of options for where to put the extra power they generate.
What does this signal to the customers, and what impact could it have on the future of solar in California?
Already the solar industry is hurting because of the changes that the PUC's made in the last 2 years. But this will be the final stake in the heart of the solar industry.
California is currently the largest solar state in the nation, with enough solar capacity to power 15 million homes, according to the Solar Energies Industry Association. They also predict California will lose its spot as the top solar state to Texas by 2027. Rooftop solar advocates like Bernadette Del Chiaro with the California Solar and Storage Association say strong incentives are needed to encourage people to spend thousands of dollars on rooftop solar systems the state has mandated be installed on new homes. The mandate has been in place since 2020.
They're trying to change the policy and claw back savings from people that have gone solar to date.
Del Chiaro says that adds up to about 2 million Californians. Many, she says, are middle and working class.
Could this proposal set the state back in its solar energy goals?
Taxing solar panels is the polar opposite thing of what California should be doing. We need more solar energy, more clean energy, more clean air. We need an abundance of energy to bring prices down, and we need competition in the marketplace to get PG&E to stop treating consumers like an ATM machine.
Up until the past few years, solar customers in California have been paying lower electricity rates thanks to California's net metering program, which was created in 1995. This program allows customers to connect to a utility's power grid and transfer power they don't use in exchange for credit on their bill.
According to the CPUC's latest proposal, a monthly grid participation charge of $8 per kilowatt would be added to these customers' bills.
Why this? Why now?
That is the trillion-dollar question. Solar customers being able to generate their own electricity is an existential threat to the utilities. Because if you can make electricity, then they don't sell it to you. You don't have to buy it from them at these exorbitant prices. And the less they sell, the less money they make.
A well-known California economist and energy policy specialist, Dr. Richard McCann, argues PG&E rates are increasing because their spending is increasing.
The relationship between this spending and recovery of those costs is one-to-one, virtually one-to-one with the rate increase. In other words, rates are rising in direct tandem with increased utility spending.
McCann's research also finds rooftop solar has helped keep peak electricity demand flat for 20 years, thanks in part to customers spending their own money to install solar systems. As a result, he says, helping the state avoid the costs in investing in this technology.
Rates would be even higher than what they are now if rooftop solar had not been present.
We asked the CPUC about this study. They pointed us to the Public Advocate's Office, which is their consumer advocacy arm. They say in their critique, quote, the study artificially inflates the perceived benefits of solar production and ignores the reality of cost shifting to non-solar customers. In their response to concerns about the proposal decreasing incentives to solar customers, the CPUC tells ABC 10, quote, the main driver behind increasing residential retail rates is wildfire mitigation costs, like vegetation management. This is driving up the overall revenue requirement, or the total amount of costs that utilities collect from customers to provide electrical service. PG&E declined to comment on the CPUC's proposal. Overall, experts say if customers are no longer incentivized to sell their extra solar to the utilities, the only recourse they have is to store it in batteries.
Is there still incentive to go solar?
I think there is, especially if you can afford a battery with it. But we need to start looking at whether or not the law should be changed so that communities or even neighborhoods could go solar together, pool their money for a battery, and frankly, leave the utility entirely.
If you are a solar customer and are not happy about this proposal, there are things you can do. Contact your elected officials at the state level. Let them know how you feel and what your concerns are. Keep in mind, the CPUC also takes public comment at their monthly meetings. We do have links to that on our website, abc10.com.
Now, I do have one question for you before we let you go here. When could people really start to see some of those changes to their incentives?
Yeah, it's a great question, Alex. We have not heard of the CPUC scheduling any kind of formal hearing or a vote specifically for these changes proposed in this story. But we are also keeping an eye on a bill in the legislature that could impact solar incentives for customers who signed up for solar before April 2023. Now, there's a lot of movement happening behind the scenes, and we will be following it in the months to come.
All right, Laura, thank you so much. And I want to mention, if you want to see more reporting from ABC 10's Laura Painter, check out her series Dollars and Cents on the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. You can watch specials about setting creative financial goals and ways to save. Find Dollars and Cents under the news section. The ABC 10 Plus streaming app is free to download to your TV. Next, on To the Point, Champions of Hope, a World War II veteran celebrating 100. We know that in news, stories are filled with challenges and hardships, but incredible things are happening every day, from neighbors helping neighbors to inspiring acts of kindness. Each week in our segment, Champions of Hope, we're sharing stories of people really making a difference. And with less than 1% of the 16.4 million Americans who served during World War II still with us today, tonight's Champion of Hope is Mario Espinosa, a proud veteran who just hit a really big milestone.
Mario Espinosa never thought at 18 years old
You're in the Army now.
he would be drafted into the military.
I'd been a farm labor for all my life up until I got into the service. We lived in tents, I slept on the ground. For a long time we had nothing to eat but corn tortillas and boiled beans.
During World War II, Mario served as an ammunition carrier and sharpshooter.
20 pounds of ammunition on each head.
He's also carried stories for a lifetime.
I got up and I started running, and jogging, run.
Even though he was drafted by war, he was driven by hope.
I made up my mind there that I would get a better job and I would go to school and learn the English language.
Decades later,
Happy birthday, dear Mario.
Another day he didn't think would happen. His 100th birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service, sir.
It feels pretty good because, you know, I never thought I could make it this far.
His caretaker, friends, daughter,
Happy birthday.
granddaughter, and great-granddaughter celebrating the big milestone. After losing his uniform and medals,
This is a donation.
a birthday gift arrived. A moment to honor a life shaped by hard work, service, and the pursuit of something greater.
After seeing all that, makes me pretty proud of myself.
His secret to a long and happy life:
Exercise, sleep, and eat well.
and dance when you can. His advice for future generations:
Get educated and work hard so you can live a better life. Make it easy on yourself.
Mario says he's hoping to celebrate his 110th birthday, but in the meantime,
I want to go to a casino and hit $1 million machine.
Don't we all, Mario? Happy birthday. And we know that there are so many more stories that are waiting to be told. If you know someone that's making a difference, of course, we would love to hear about it. You can share a story with us by emailing us at tothepoint@abc10.com. As always, thank you so much for watching and inviting us into your home. Our content does not end here. You can always stream our free ABC 10 Plus streaming app straight to your TV tonight. Have a great evening. I'll see you tomorrow.